Trackwrestling.com here inside the Arena Scottrade Center, National Championships, here with Jim Gibbons, one of my partners on Big Ten Network, college wrestling analyst. Jim, you understand this tournament as well as anybody. You won it as an athlete in 1981 at Princeton, and then as a coach for the Cyclones in 1987. Just your overall thoughts this time of year and your emotions every year you come to a national tournament.
Well, the emotional part of it here is that I don't think there's anybody that's ever wrestled in this tournament that doesn't really, this time of year you start getting the spring in your step, and I don't care how old you are, you just get the memories of really, and I don't really know how tough I was, but I just know there's a lot of tough guys that never won this tournament. And to be included in the list of champions is really kind of special. And for me as a coach, to be in the list of, the 11 people that are alive that won national championships as coach here, it's a pretty prestigious group to be in. So real thankful for the athletes that I coached. I was lucky enough that year to coach 4 national champions, and just a great vivid memory of really a team that got it all together.
When you were the head coach that year, you were what, mid-20s?
Yeah, I think I was 27, when we won our title there. So, different scenario. I was part of the Iowa State culture. I'd been an assistant coach for 3 years under Harold Nichols, and I grew up in Ames, and so I had a lot of things. I wasn't relearning a lot of things about the community, about the tradition of the program, and so it became a little bit easier for me to have the success. But really, it's all about creating that type of success when you're coaching for the guys that are going out there and stepping out on the mat. And probably the dumbest question I ever answered after we had won is that do you think that you won it too early in your career? I go, that's ridiculous. This is I had a couple seniors in the lineup there that won national titles, and when you start thinking about them and what they had accomplished, and it really was all about them, it wasn't about me and my career.
What have you come to appreciate, Jim, over the years as you continue to study and learn the sport at a high level? What are a couple of things that you appreciate most about getting it done on this stage?
Well, I think that the stage has become bigger, right, which is really pretty cool. When you sit there and talk about the prestige of an NCAA wrestling championship, I think it's gotten better, of course, with the access that we have now to media. The internet's been a great help. You take a look at what cable TV and satellite TV have done for the popularity of the sport. People are finding their way and being entertained by what's being produced here. But this NCAA championship is as prestigious as it's ever been, and the evidence of that is when you have Olympic gold medalists and bronze medalists, that instead of going off and just focusing on their international careers, coming back and wrestling in this event, tells you how much prestige there is winning an NCAA wrestling title in this sport.
I always like paying attention every year to your Mr. Upsides. Anybody that stands out when you look at the next 3 days, Mr. Upsides, pay attention to?
Well, my big Mr. Upside this time around, of course, for obvious reasons, would be Terrell from American, the number 11 seed. Was going to catch Suriano in that 11-6, bracket here. A guy who went a couple points with Thomas Gilman at the Midlands, and so he would be my first Mr. Upside, but now, because particularly with Suriano being out of the weight, that 11-6 matchup is almost the equivalent of the quarterfinal match. So I think from 11 seed being able to place, I think that guy has a lot of skills. You could pick a number of guys at 133. Seth Gross could be the first South Dakota State All-American. Cade Brock, the guys in there that Corey Clark, you'd have to take a really good look at him because of how tight that match was with Tomasello. But Stefan Micic, a guy that I think really has a lot of upside. I watched him warm up today. It just looks like he's, Joe McFarland was telling me about him, that his coach, that comes to practice every day with a little sheet of paper about what he likes to improve on it with his plan, and so you like to see those types of plans being developed, and I think he's got a lot of upside. 41, I think Anthony Ashnault here from the 5 seed, the Pride of New Jersey, 4-time state champion. If he could win a national title, that'd be really significant for that program. Hope for a lot of Jersey guys that want to stay in the state here with Rutgers program moving along, but there will be evidence of that here with the national title. And I think that from what I've seen from him, looks pretty tough on his feet. Looked very sharp against Gaska, who's pretty sharp in his own right here on his feet at 141 from Michigan State. So 49, Mr. Upside on that. I don't know. Zane Rutherford got a lot going on for him now. You'd almost have to say that Brandon Sorensen, if he was able to go ahead and wrestle Zane Rutherford the way he did in that 9-8 match in Carver Hawkeye Arena from the 5 seed, would be a really good choice. At 157, I like Jake Short. The 8 seed, and maybe climbing the ladder a little bit in that weight class. So he looked pretty sharp to me. He was out there being able to take down Nolf. And sometimes when you see guys that in the end of the year going against the top level competition, Nolf certainly is the number 1 seed. If you see a guy like that goes out there and plunks a guy down with a takedown at a top rated guy and kind of hangs in that match for a little bit as he did with Nolf, that's something that you can build confidence in later on. So I think that would be a guy that I'd pick at 57. At 65, you guys should think about that weight class here for a bit, is that you got the 5 and Seaton and Chad Walsh. But I'm going to pick Jordan. He's got the ability to slow down the match. I think that if there's a guy that might be able to beat Martinez, I think he may have the skills to be able to do that, because he can slow a match down. He's pretty good in the top position. He can get out relatively quick. He hasn't had the kind of the real breakthrough. I know he made the finals last year against
Daringer,
but I thought when he got to the finals, he didn't really challenge Daringer the way he could have. I think that if he gets to the semifinals and gets through Walsh from Ryder, that could be an interesting and tough match for Martinez. 174, you got to pick Hall, the junior world champion, and then you take a look at the top half of that bracket. Here you got the 2 young guys in that side of the bracket. You got the older guys in the bottom side of the bracket with Rio Buto and Bo Jordan. So that would be my Mr. Upside there. And then 84, gosh, I watched the warm-ups today, and I thought Nolan Boyd really looked good at warming up, and he has a win over Gabe Dean, all right, at Cornell, and I'm not saying that that's going to happen. Dean is so airtight, and it'd be easy to pick Nickel or Sammy Brooks or even Miles Martin here, but it's just that's a hard one for me to go ahead and pick who's the upside. I like the way they seeded that. In fact, I like the way they seeded the whole tournament. Probably the best seeded tournament I've seen in 15 years, where there's no really outliers. 197.
Colin Moore's your guy.
Yeah, I know. I've been high on Moore since I saw him halfway through the match with Jaden Cox.
And talk about that some more, because that was a great point you made during that broadcast.
Well, we were talking, and we were, as we tend to do, we get talking about the accolades of one guy over the other, and you can go off on a tangent in a broadcast about talking about some guy, and then all of a sudden I woke myself up and I said, boy, this kid is attacking, all right? This guy's, and I'm sitting there and made the comment. I said, I'm wondering if I'm watching the next Ohio State superstar. And, now he's seeded 3rd in the country, so he's not really a Mr. Upside anymore, but I do think he has a lot of upside as far as his career goes. And he's the type of guy at that weight, in his first 2 minutes of a match, he'll get 5 or 6 attacks off, all right? And score on half of them, it seems like, or a third of them. But he's the guy that gets out there and gets his attacks going early, and he really set Brett Favre back here, and then was able to catch him on a 5-point move. But he showed me a lot. He showed steady improvement all along in that weight class,
And you liked how he wrestled on bottom. I mean, he was getting rode, but you really liked the effort on bottom.
Yeah, that's because going back to my coaching experiences, that I really felt that's where a coach could kind of do the most for his athletes, is helping them. There's 3 things that you need to do. You need to work on your athletes' mental preparation. You got to work on their technical capabilities, and also physically get in shape. Well, going against a guy like Jaden Cox, you're going against one of the most physical guys, most talented guys in the country. You got a guy that from the bottom position, he was actually, I would say, tiring out Jaden, but he was actually working so hard that it just shows that his ability to go ahead and let it go physically, not getting trapped up here in the webs of self-doubt, or I can't keep this pace up, or whatever. That he's the guy that once he gets it figured out, he's full thrust forward here, and he'll get the avionics figured out in a little bit here. And I think that's where he is right now, and that's what he's gotten to the last part of the season. He's got the avionics kind of figured out here because he's full thrusters getting ready to take off. And I think that's something I just thought of here.
We'll have to take that one to the booth next year.
Yeah, right. But that heavyweight, I'm intrigued by this Casper from Duke, getting the number 4 seed. And you take a look at the job that Glenn Lanham has done, and at Duke with no scholarships, right? And this would be his second All-American if he holds the seed. The last 2 years in the program.
Connor Hartman?
Yeah, with Connor Hartman, the second All-American in 2 years if he holds that seed. And there's a lot of stories like that. And I think that there's, I think another sidebar to this national tournament would be kind of the coaching that's being done at places like South Dakota State, with Chris Bono and Seth Gross, that at 25 could be their first All-American. You take a look at the job that's being done at Princeton with Ayers and Joe Dubuque, 7 national qualifiers. If Klodzik holds his seed, we got another opportunity to have 10 All-American, to be the 10th All-American in that program's history. A program that was down and out at one point in time, and now is getting an All-American and 7 national qualifiers. So, you see the resurgence of Arizona State. You see semblance of it. You see the work that's being done at a place like Campbell. You see the work that was being done at the University of Minnesota. I think that Brandon Eggum, Luke Becker, the coaching staff there did a nice job of piecing that together, because they had a disastrous summer, and when Jay was let go, and it's I think that the job that they were able to do to maintain that program. And you're starting to see maybe some things at Michigan State. Just some little things, little subtle things that are happening. But I think that there's a fantastic. It's too bad there's only 80 All-Americans that can be crowned here, because I think some of the coaching jobs that are being done are really impactful, and I'm missing a few. But then you got Tony Roby battling for the job at Virginia Tech here this weekend, and that's going to be fun to watch. And so the coaching part of it, I think, and with the programs, is going to be interesting to see how that develops. But all in all, it's all about creating that dream of being a national champion and walking out of here with one of these titles. And it's amazing. For me, it was 36 years ago, but it's amazing how many times that you are still rewarded in your life for something that you accomplished that long ago, right? And it's like when somebody comes to this event for the first time and they see just the pageantry and all that stuff that goes along with it, and seeing how tough it actually is to win one of these titles, and then they find out that you were a national champion, and you just you're held in a little higher esteem.
Street cred.
But then you go home and you're told it's time to take out the garbage.
Jim, you're one of my favorite guys to talk wrestling with, and enjoy these next few days.
Yeah, enjoy it, Shane. It's going to be fun, and you do great work, and we're going to be excited to continue our long relationship. So
thanks a lot, Jim.
Yeah.